You know, I'm a bit of an odd duck. I grew up in a rural community throughout high school as a big old nerd. You know, a lot of my schoolmates were about 6 foot tall, good old boys who took shop class, grew up on farms, called off sick for work on the opening weekend for deer season. You know, so I've always kind of laughed at myself 10 years later when I found myself becoming one of those very people in my own way. This is a really convoluted way of saying that I like hunting and fishing games, really. They're not something I could marathon for days on end, but certainly something I'll pick up for a few hours when I feel burnt out on everything else. So when I saw the trailer for Fishing Planet and saw that it was free, I was on board. Now, in the early days after its release, the game focused on fishing, of all things. Weird. It had a few neat ideas, like the idea of making a fishing spot your home that reduced the travel cost to fish there. The total number of features it had at the time was a little threadbare, but it had just gotten off the ground, and it had got the actual fishing right. It had microtransactions in the form of bait coins that could purchase equipment that was better than what you could usually get at the time. The cost of equipment, both with in-game money and premium currency, was enough that the premium stuff certainly looked good, but the real-world money still had some value. It has a good system for underwater terrain and time of day, which leads to peak fishing times for certain species of fish, and certain species of fish are far more likely to be caught in certain locations around the water. It also had fishing tournaments crop up from time to time, which was a very popular decision with a lot of people. And it had multiplayer, so you could talk to people while wetting virtual line. I put in at least 20 hours, an hour or two at a time, before it began to languish in my library. I picked it up again a year or so later and came back to a completely changed game. Gone was the neat home waters system, and instead you got a pond that you could fish at for free forever. Not bad. The pond had little variety of fish, however, and almost all of which gave very little currency, and there was a very particular way to fish in order to maximize your leveling and money gain. And you almost had to play that way because traveling to anywhere outside of that pond required a pretty damn big monetary investment. Not only did you have to travel there and pay the travel cost, you had to pay for the fishing license, which is temporary unless you shell out an insane amount of in-game money or buy the damn thing. Even if you had the basic license and the money to get there, you can't even keep the really expensive fish that you were there to get unless you purchase the advanced license, which cost even more. Once you finally arrived at the new spot, you need to fish in a highly specialized way in order to make a profit so you can progress to the next section. All of the mechanics of the game pushes the sense of progression. For example, you can only keep a certain amount of fish at a time. The amount of fish you can keep is determined by your fish keeper, which is a piece of purchasable equipment that is determined by your level. So in order to make more money, you need to purchase a better fish keeper. In order to purchase a new fish keeper, you have to optimize the fish that you keep in your current live well and the ones that you go after to gain levels so that you get the most money per pound of fish and keep your level up. So instead of wanting to fish for whatever the fuck you want, you need to fish for what's correct. So why would a developer want to make mechanics that would defeat the very purpose of a fishing game? To relax and go fishing. Because fucking microtransactions, of course. The developers have gone completely for broke and have decided against making a game fun and designed a fishing game that torments you with almost being a perfect fishing game. But absolutely everything has been redesigned to make the paid options look as tempting as fucking possible to the detriment of their players' goodwill. You can check out the current Steam reviews and see that all the recent ones have been thumbs down. Let's take a look at some egregious examples of greed, shall we? You can purchase a premium account subscription, which gives you a 50% boost to XP and in-game cash for a limited amount of time, $10 for 30 days or $60 for a full year. You can buy bait coin packs from a measly $3, which buys you next to jack shit on its own, up to $100, which still buys you very little in the relative scheme of things. You can buy pond passes, which immediately unlocks the fishing spot temporarily, grants you an advanced license for the duration for that area, and gets you access to a premium bait shop so you can spend more fucking money after you spend fucking money. To fish in Alaska, which is seen as the end game for Fishing Planet, costs $70 for a 30-day pond pass for a single location. And we haven't even touched on their DLC in the Steam store yet. There are 23 DLC packs for Fishing Planet, most of them being equipment that's tailored for a specific species or type of fish. For an example, let's look at one that might have appealed to me if I were a fucking idiot. This is the Catfish Combat Pack. It comes with 2 rods, 2 reels, a selection of consumable line, hooks, bobbers, and bait, a fish keeper, a cosmetic hat, fishing vest, a rod holder, 30 days of premium subscription, 20 bait coins, $40,000 of regular currency, which will disappear in an instant, by the way, and 30-day pond passes for 2 fishing locations that feature good catfishing. The price? $40 fucking dollars. For a collection of stuff that is almost all temporary. At the end of the 30 days of free premium stuff, what do you have to show for it? A blue hat, basically. Is that worth $40, a price that some developers are charging for a full and complete game? Hell no. That's not even the worst bit of it. $40 is a lot, but it's not even the most expensive pack. To go fishing with topwater gear, prepare to shuck over $55. You want to go fishing for salmon in that Alaska pack that you just spent $70 to unlock for 30 days? Another $70 fucking dollars for the gear to do it. Several of the packs are just watered-down versions of the ones we've already talked about. There's a Spring Cats pack, which is a light version of the Catfish Combat pack. Here you pretty much get the same shit, except you only get 7 days of premium, advanced licenses for the stuff that you better have unlocked because they don't give you pond passes this time, or good fucking luck because that's a waste of money. And you don't even get a damn hat out of it. If you bought all of the DLC packs, all of them, at once, you'd be charged near $500. And most of that value is based on completely temporary things, like subscriptions and pond passes. This game had a lot of potential. Hell, I gave it a glowing review back in the day, but right now, it's a money-grubbing sham of a game that has the shadow of something great, but the developers need all of the money that they can get instead of most of the money. So the game and its mechanics got all carved up and balanced around those who can pay and those who can't. Now, can you experience everything this game has to offer without paying a dime? Yes, you can. But I can speak quite confidently about this.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
In order to see everything this game does right, and in order to see everything that this game does at all, you would have to sink so much time and gate the way you play so drastically that it would cease to be fun for anyone who wanted to play this game to just catch virtual fish. And that's really sad. There is some good news coming out of this, however. The developers of another fishing simulator called Ultimate Fishing Simulator have apparently noticed that the lack of goodwill in Fishing Planet and have decided that now is the perfect time to launch their game, or at least make it known to the market. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few players of Fishing Planet that are very excited for Ultimate Fishing Simulator, because at least so far, the devs have said that they are watching Fishing Planet for what it does wrong so they can avoid the same pitfalls. They have launched forward several surveys and several forum posts asking the people who want to play the game what they want to see in the game. That transparency is fresh, but we'll have to steel ourselves and hopefully Ultimate Fishing Simulator is going to be a good thing, and not another fucking fluke like we saw with Fishing Planet. Thank you for listening to me rant for about 10 minutes on, well, me complaining about Fishing Planet, of all fucking things. So, I apologize if none of you even like fishing games. I apologize if none of you want to hear me rant. But for those of you that have stuck around, I appreciate it. And I hope to God that you get something out of this. Whether it's how to look at a game that does microtransactions in a new light, whether it's you just never touch Fishing Planet at all, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in or on the water next time. Bye-bye.